So we will hopefully now be settling into our meditation posture. We just have about 12 minutes of silence, and then we'll start the sutta discussion. I thought I unmuted myself. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Bhutam dhammam sangham namasami. So, welcome everyone. Today we're going to look at a teaching. It's actually Venerable Sariputta is responding to a question that the Lord Buddha has asked him. And then there'll be another teaching on the same subject, only just from a different perspective. If we don't spend a lot of time on this one, we might go to the next one. So this one, it's in the Connected Discourses on the Buddha, and which is a Samyutta Nikaya, and it's in the book on the faculties. So the chapter on the faculties. So it's SN 48.44 is if you want to reference it. And I don't see Venerable Kachayana, who often will put up the sutta. I'm not so technologically skilled. So we can just, I have both Bhante Sujato's translation, which is on Sutta Central. That's suttacentral.net. And some of you may have your own way of getting to that. And you would just key in to the discourses. If you're not familiar with Sutta Central, this may be not the best time to learn. But if you are, you could key into the basket of discourses, and then keyword, there's a little search. It has its own search thing. And you could put lowercase n, SN 48.44, but you need to just make it one line, not divided up. Just make it into one word. So this particular sutta is called the Eastern Gate. Eastern Gate House, Eastern Gate House. And it just, as the Samyutta Nikaya often does, we just kind of dive in without any really a background. Sometimes there's a background story to why this conversation took place, or something about where they were. So I'll start reading. And I'm reading now from the Connected Discourses of the Buddha, the Samyutta Nikaya. I'm reading it in the hard copy. Thus I have heard, on one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Savatthi in the Eastern Gatehouse. There, the Blessed One addressed the Venerable Sariputta thus. So I'm going to read the whole thing through, and then we can go through this slowly. Sariputta, do you have faith that the faculty of faith, when developed and cultivated, has the deathless as its ground, the deathless as its distinction, the deathless as its goal? And then there's ellipsis here, which means he's going through all 5 faculties. So the first faculty is a faculty of faith. And the second faculty is the faculty of energy. And the third faculty is the faculty of mindfulness. And the fourth faculty is the faculty of samadhi. And that may be translated as stillness, concentration, immersion. There's this is a very debated topic about what we should call samadhi in English. But I think we should just throw out all the other translations and just learn what samadhi is ourselves. So that's the fourth. Samadhi is the fourth faculty. And then that the faculty of wisdom, that's the fifth, when developed and cultivated, has the deathless as its ground, the deathless as its distinction, the deathless as its goal. So we can talk about what the deathless might mean. It's another word that defies really good English translation. Venerable Sir, this is the Venerable Sariputta is answering that question. I do not go by faith in the Blessed One about this, that the faculty of faith and so on, faculty, I'll just repeat them in case you don't know them all. It's good to hear it again and again. It helps with the memory. So faith, energy, mindfulness, samadhi, and wisdom. And I could say all the Pali as well, but if you have Sutta Central, you'll see the Pali. And when we go to the other translation, I'll mention these words as well. You'll see them and hear them. And that helps with memory too. So he doesn't go by faith in the Tathagata, he's saying here. That these five faculties have the deathless as its ground, the deathless as its destination, the deathless as its final goal. And then he continues, those by whom this has not been known, seen, understood, realized, and contacted with wisdom, they would have to go by faith in others about this. That the faculty of faith, energy, mindfulness, samadhi, the faculty of wisdom, when developed and cultivated, has the deathless as its ground, the deathless as its destination, the deathless as its final goal. But those by whom this has been known, seen, understood, realized, and contacted with wisdom, they would be without perplexity or doubt about this, that the faculty of faith, the faculty of wisdom, I said the ellipsis there, so I just skipped over. When developed and cultivated, has the deathless as its ground, the deathless as its destination, the deathless as its final goal. I am one Venerable Sir by whom this has been known, seen, understood, realized, and contacted with wisdom. I am without perplexity or doubt about this, that the faculty of faith, energy, mindfulness, samadhi, the faculty of wisdom, when developed and cultivated, has the deathless as its ground, the deathless as its destination, the deathless as its final goal. And then the Lord Buddha responds by saying, good, Sariputta. Those by whom this has been known, it is known for oneself. So there's an ellipsis here. So we go back to the ellipsis. But those by whom this has been known, seen and understood, realized, and contacted with wisdom, they would be without perplexity or doubt about this, that these five faculties have the deathless as its ground, destination, and final goal. So that's the entire sutta. And then we can go through again a little bit more slowly. I apologize again for not having the capacity to put up Sutta Central. If you have it, then you can look yourself, but I'll go through. I don't know, does anyone there have it up on their screen? Do they have their Ruwanti?
So if you click the link on the email, it would take you to the Sutta Central where the Sutta is. Like if that helps, I just put it in the chat as well for those who are there.
Do you want me to open it up and screenshot?
Sure. Okay, I get technical assistance here.
That's good.
China's giving a tour of the Hermitage. That's fine.
Yeah. This is Easter Sunday, and this is, I think they have visitors at the Hermitage, so that we okay, and we go to basket of discourses. And she's just typed in SN 48.44, and here we are.
Okay. So, oh, that's up now. Is it screen share?
And then she's going to screen share. Okay, and then how can I make it the other part more visible? Okay, so the participants that are on the side. And okay, and then I can just scroll it.
Yeah, you can use 2 fingers to scroll.
Okay. All right. That's the thing with this technology. It's all, every device is different, it seems. Okay. So, everyone can see that well?
Yeah.
So here we have the Pali underneath the English. Would anyone like to read from this? Could read. Do you have anyone who wants to be a reader? No? Okay, I'll just read then. At one time, the Buddha was staying at Savatthi at the Eastern Gate. Then the Buddha said to the very venerable Sariputta, Sariputta, do you have faith that, see here we have Sada. Okay. It doesn't have a translator on it, but Sada is faith. That the faculties of faith, and he's translated it all. I mean, he's omitted the ellipsis and put in the words, all 5 faculties. The faculty of faith, energy, mindfulness, and Bhante Sujato likes the term immersion for samadhi, and wisdom, when developed and cultivated, culminate, finish, and end in the deathless. So this is Sadindriya. If I can get it. Sadindriya. And Sada is faith, but it's the words combine into Sadindriya. The A gets dropped. So Indriya is a faculty. And so Yeah, so it appears to be that in this Pali, they do use ellipsis, and the Bhante Sujato wanted to include. So sada is faith, virya is energy, mindfulness is sati, and then samadhi is immersion here, and then panya is wisdom. So we don't have, see, panindriya, you see there? So it says here, sir, in this case, I do not rely on faith in the Buddha's claim that the faculties of faith, energy, mindfulness, immersion, and wisdom, when developed and cultivated, culminate and finish and end in the deathless. So this is Venerable Sariputta is known for his wisdom, and what I've noticed is that when asked a standard question, he often answers in a different manner than is a standard rhetoric, the standard reply would be. He often says things a little bit differently. So does anyone have a question or a comment so far about what we've been looking at? We keep going. That's a pretty provocative answer, isn't it? If you were a teacher and someone answered in that way. Well, these are both arahants, so neither of them are shakable. But someone else listening might be shocked, don't you think? Well, is he challenging the teacher? Oh my goodness! If you were sitting there and someone answers in this manner, there are those who have not known or seen or understood or realized or experienced this with wisdom. They may rely on faith in this matter. So here is another thing to think about. We should, what does this word sada mean? Bhante Bodhi and Bhante Sujato have both translated the word sada as faith. So does anyone know other translations for faith? Or sada, I mean?
John Jeff has conviction.
Conviction. That's some seminary Tavira has said that Ajahn Jeff has conviction.
I've also heard confidence.
Confidence, yes. And I've heard trust. Yeah, confidence, trust, conviction, and faith. And then the dictionary also mentions devotion, can be seen as devotion. So do you think that the Venerable Sariputta is saying that sada is not important?
Could it be that because he's an arahant, he doesn't need to have faith in any of this simply because he has experienced it?
It sounds like Patipada. Is that who is speaking?
Yes, yes,
I
sorry.
can't see you on the screen, but that's fine. It's fine to answer. You might put a little virtual hand up and then you'll get bumped up higher. But yeah, he does. We did read through it and he does indicate why. But I'm wondering, he's saying relying on faith. And because he's an arahant, like Patipada is saying, he doesn't need to rely on faith alone or rely on faith on a teacher. Like we're trusting. So my question is, you think it's important that sada is important? Okay, Dakota?
Well, it seems that faith is important to get one to the step of practicing, that they can develop this skill to see it for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But he's saying that I've done that and I don't need that step anymore.
That's a really good way to understand what's just been said. Yeah, thank you, Dakota. There are those who have not known or seen or understood or realized or experienced this with wisdom. They may rely on faith in this matter. So taking it as he's gone beyond the point where he has to rely on faith on somebody else. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. So, but sada is important for those of us who aren't fully realized. And then in the teachings, they talk about the sada and the panya as paired together to balance one another, that we shouldn't rely on the sada alone, that we need to be developing wisdom. So as the wisdom develops, the sada gets stronger. It takes a different quality because it's based on understanding rather than based on just charisma. Like I have, I trust this person or I have confidence in this person just based on charisma alone. And so I'm going to believe whatever they say. Something like that. That's not wise faith. It's foolish faith. So, yeah. So is there any comments or questions on what we've covered so far? Or Dakota, did you have anything more you wanted to add to what you had just said? Okay, I see Linda has her hand raised.
Hi, Ayya. Yeah, just on the matter of the faith, I know in other Buddhist schools, it's like, it could be like an entrusting heart and mind. So it is important. I mean, if you're an arhat, I guess it wouldn't be as important because you've reached that stage and gone past it. But for the practitioner, it would be important. The other question I had quickly was about the use of the word deathless in the previous paragraph, and the end in the deathless. I wasn't sure, like the way they're saying it, I'm not sure how they mean it. So that was a question.
That's a good question, Linda. The deathless is another word, a description for nibbana.
Nirvana. Okay.
And
I never heard it like described that way. So that's interesting. Thank you for that. Yeah.
yeah, and I don't know if that's unique to Theravada or let's see if I can find the word here.
I've never heard it used in Mahayana text at all. So it might be strictly Theravada. I'm not sure.
Okay. Mata. see if I don't. And some people might argue about the translation of metta. This translator isn't working to divide up the words here. Yeah, it doesn't have a good, it's not cutting the words up quite right. But that means undying is another translation. Do you have a better undying? They talk about having been born, we die. So it's going beyond the cycle of birth and death. And that would be nibbana.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I see Patipada has a hand raised. Patipada?
The question of faith and also the Buddha teaching, do not take my word for something, experience it for yourself. And I from the way those two concepts are used, are they contradictory? Why would I have faith in something if I have not experienced it? And I'm being told I need to experience it. Question everything I say. Is it contradictory?
No, I think that Dakota had described it pretty well. That when we haven't experienced it for ourselves, we do have to rely on a certain amount of faith. But there's also in the Buddhist teaching enough that's what's called apparent near here and now. It can be seen. Like, I can understand impermanence and suffering to a certain degree. There's like a certain, and then the more I explore that for myself, the more I understand some of the ways it's talked about in the suttas. And then, so my wisdom builds over time through experience. I have to experience for myself. I can't just go by book learning or by hearing somebody talking. I have to really examine my own life and mind and experience and learn from that. But I have this framework to work with. The Lord Buddha has given us a framework to examine things. It's like any kind of a science, they have ways of testing things. Like you might have
in
chemicals
chemistry
or
and
something
physics.
to test certain substances with, and then you do certain things with them and manipulate them in a certain way, and you examine them. And there's like this whole procedure that you do to examine something. We're examining our own lives and minds, kind of like a scientist might be examining substances, or philosophers are discussing things amongst themselves. You kind of have to look and explore for yourself. Or so botanists would go out in the field and start taking samples of plants and comparing parts with other parts of plants, and it's just like, but they have a methodology that they use, and that's how they learn. A student would learn, and then somebody becomes an expert in the field and be making their own discoveries. But let's see.
Thank you.
So so it's not one or the other. It's a progression. to the point where we know for ourselves and we don't have to any longer. And Dakota has her hand up.
Yes, well, I think you said that very well. But we start in ignorance, and as we develop, I mean, when we start, if we don't have any faith, then we don't move. We can't progress at all because we aren't even interested. It doesn't seem real. So I think it is very important at a certain stage. You know, it's not that it's not important at all. There was something also that I wanted to mention about the deathless, because there was some conversation about that. If I could question that for a moment.
Sure.
That's really interesting wording for me. I find that fascinating because when I first, and maybe this has something to do with faith also, when I was a teenager and I was presented with the idea of reincarnation, and at the time I thought about it a lot, and I decided that it made me happy to believe in it. I didn't really have the basis to say I know that it's true, but it made me happy. And that was reason enough to believe in it, because if I was wrong, then who cares? And if I was right, I was happy at least. So, and that's developed over the years. And when through meditation and through watching sankharas and karma arise and pass in the mind, one gets to a point of seeing the nature of life, that experience of life. And there is a deathlessness in that doesn't even require nibbana. It requires insight into the process of arising and passing and arising and passing, and the wisdom that comes from that.
Thank you. I think everything in the teachings of the Buddha, the qualities that we aspire to are developed over time. And I think this is something that Dakota is also touching on, where our understanding through experience develops. Like we might have glimpses of nibbana or the deathless. We might have, and then in turn our faith would grow, our wisdom would grow. Everything would be, our energy would, see, this is the thing, is that as the faith faculty gets activated, the energy gets brought up, and then the sati is overseeing all the other ones. It's a pivotal, not pivotal, but it connects all of them. It's within all of them, the sati, the mindfulness, and the capacity for samadhi increases, and the wisdom increases. And it may seem it's kind of linear in a way, but it's also balanced. Like there's this balancing of the faculties with the mindfulness in the middle, the sada and the panya, the wisdom and the faith on either side, balancing one another, and the samadhi and the virya, the energy and the immersion, balancing one another. They're all working together, but they're all developing together. And you can't neglect one, because it's like they're not exact. They're kind of like a unit, but if you neglect one, the other ones there may be a weakness in the structure or something like that. So your insight is going to be increasing over time. Your capacity to understand is going to increase over time. but your capacity to see is going to increase over time. So, yeah, so thank you for bringing that up. There can be glimpses, or can be a really strong sense, yes, this is true. Even though it also reminds me of my teens, when I heard about I heard about Hinduism and reincarnation, and I wasn't so sure about this pantheon, you know, all the gods. But the idea of reincarnation sounded really appealing to me, and part of it was the questioning mind, the inquiring mind. Like, why is it that we only have one chance? You know, why are we punished or rewarded forever for one lifetime? So multiple lifetimes seem like, oh yeah, we could develop over quite a long period of time. It made sense to me. So yeah, I think we have a similar experience. And so the deathless means that it's the end of that cycle of rebirth, though. We're no longer born or no longer die. So whenever we're ready for that and have developed to a certain point as Arhat, then how it says, it's what's being cultivated, culminate, and finished, and end in the deathless, when we have fully developed these faculties. So maybe we should continue on. Let's see, where are we here? I think so we read. Now he's saying, but there are those who have known, seen, understood, realized, and experienced this with wisdom. They have no doubts or uncertainties in this matter. So they've had direct experience with the deathless. They have direct experience and they've seen how the faculties have supported that experience. So Sachikatang is coming up on my translator here. That word. Yeah, I can't. This is realized experience for oneself. And we had a little bit of discussion of that. And then Hasitum. So realized, experienced, understood. I think Bhante Bodhi, this is touch. Pasa is contact. I think that's how Bhante Bodhi translated that. It's contacted it. Like direct contact with wisdom. This is the panya here. Oops. Panya. Panya. That's like prajna. You know, Sanskrit. It's a Sanskrit equivalent to prajna. So they're without doubt or certainties. So what would that mean if I didn't have any doubt or certainty in the Buddhist teaching? What kind of an individual? Would I have to be an arahant? Anyone here have the answer to that? Would I have?
Doubt is one of the fetters eliminated in streaming. That's what I was thinking.
Okay, go ahead. Please, please, you can, please go ahead.
Stream entry.
Say the full thing. Okay. So,
Doubt is one of the fetters that is overcome with stream entry.
so did you hear that? Venerable Tavira just said doubt. Oh, okay.
So doubt is one of the fetters that is overcome at stream entry.
Take off the camera. So at stream entry, there's no longer any doubt in the teaching. And why is that?
Seen it really for years.
They've seen it for themselves. So a stream enterer could have absolutely no doubt in the teaching because they've seen it for themselves. And I looked up this note. There's one note in Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation of this, and it referred me to another sutta, because the same statement was made by a lay man named Mahanama. He said the same thing about he doesn't go by faith in the Buddha. and this is a layman saying this. See, where is it? I thought I had it right here. Anyway, Mahanama answers the same way. Okay, na kavam etam bante bhagavato sadaya gachami. Oh, it's Chitta, not Mahanama. Excuse me, it's Chitta. He's another lay. He's known for his wisdom. He may have been actually a non-returner by the time before he passed away. Chitta is here laying a verbal trap, which will be sprung just below. While he appears to be disclaiming allegiance to the Buddha, he is actually asserting that he has realized the truth of the Buddha's statement by personal experience, and thus need only not rely on mere faith in his word. And this recurs at this sutta, it's saying. So Chitta, I didn't read that sutta, but now that I'm thinking about it, I think he's not speaking to the Lord Buddha, but he's speaking to some wanderers of another sect, and they were questioning him about his faith in the Lord Buddha, and he answers in this way. So there's this kind of shock value to it. And I think this occurs quite a bit in the suttas, where they say things that you wouldn't expect that they would say. And there's a little bit of shock value to get your attention, or to jostle maybe a set way of thinking of things. I don't know. But the householder, he's yeah, I should have looked up so we could reference that one too, but I don't have it right now. So someone need to be, in order to enter the stream, one has the they've known, seen, understood, and realized, experienced with wisdom. And like you can see, there's different levels or different, stages of development. So this could be all having no doubt or uncertainties. Of course, it's three lower fetters would be stream entry, and that's eliminating any doubt in the Buddha's teaching. Their view is straight as far as personality view. They aren't seeing the five khandhas as self, and they have a good. I don't know, a good way of talking about the rites and rituals. Do you have a good? Because there's a number of ways of phrasing that. The Sakaya Ditti, personality view, and then there's the what's it called? What's the other one? Silabhata Paramasa, having to do with you're not attached to rites and rituals, thinking that that's going to be your way to liberation. Like you don't think that if I put the altar in a particular way and light the candles in a particular way and do certain rituals, that's going to be my way to liberation. It's maybe that's very beautiful and inspires faith and mindfulness and all that, but we have to be developing on the path. We have to develop other faculties internally. So
Maybe something about like clarity about which ways of practice are or are not effective or something. Like you say, like those things can contribute to being effective ways to practice, but like in and of themselves.
mhm. I don't know if that was audible. Could you hear that? Maybe not.
Yeah, I was just saying something about maybe like you develop a clarity about which kinds of practice are or are not effective. And some of those rituals can contribute towards effective ways of practicing, but are not enough in and of themselves.
Yeah. So there's not. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's a different how they translate Sila Bhatta Paramasa. And now I've heard so many different ways of being translated. I can't think of a really concise way of saying it that's not attached to rites and rituals, or not something like that. Somebody may have a different way of translating it that they like. Are you familiar with these? Maybe not. Anyway, so that's for a stream entry. They've broken those fetters, and so the doubt is gone, and the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. So if you does anyone have any comments or questions about what we've gone over so far? So certainly an arahant would have broken that fetter, either in sequence, starting out with stream entry and then once returner, non-returner, and then finally arhatship, or some make a breakthrough even more quickly than that. But I think it's just kind of like there's a simile of the ship that's cast onto the dry land, an old ship, and there's all this rigging, and that's just exposed to the sun and the wind and the ocean spray, and maybe even some tides, and all that rigging is getting exposed to the elements over some time. And then it seems like it's a solid, like ropes and things holding it together. And then at a certain point, maybe somebody comes along and starts to move something or do something with it, and it just completely falls apart. So it doesn't really appear like it's coming apart, but it actually is. So this rigid view of things is just opening up, and we actually get a broader view. So then Lord Buddha says, good, and he repeats what the Venerable Sariputta has said. And this is a common pattern too, that the Lord Buddha affirms what someone has said by repeating it. And this is also a way of memorizing, because it's an oral tradition. So repeating things again and again will help us remember. So at least we should try to remember the idea of the 5 faculties. I don't know if anyone's we're already working with these or pretty familiar with these faculties. Has anyone been at least in combination? They're supposed to be really they're part of the Bodhipakya Dhammas. They're factors that are essential for awakening. So these are specifically aimed at practice. Should we go to the next sutta? Would you like to do that? It's another short one, and we could probably just at least read it through and touch on a point in it that's a little bit different than this one. Would you like to do that? We feel done with this one? Okay, this one is at the Eastern Monastery. Let's see. Would you be up to reading this? Okay, that's okay. Okay, I will read through unless we have a reader at the, where somebody would like to read. Dakota, would you?
I'm happy to read.
Do you want to read from, do you have a hard copy, or do you want to read what's here and on the screen?
I can read it here.
Okay.
But I don't have any capacity to scroll it, I guess, so.
Okay, I'll scroll it. I'll bring it up.
The first time you asked about reading, I wasn't sure if you wanted us to read it in English or Pali. That's why I didn't volunteer.
Oh, I see. Well, oops. Okay.
So I have heard. At one time, the Buddha was staying near Savatthi in the Eastern Monastery, the stilt longhouse of Megara's mother. There, the Buddha addressed the mendicants. Mendicants, how many faculties must a mendicant develop and cultivate so that they can declare enlightenment? I understand. Rebirth is ended. The spiritual journey has been completed. What had to be done has been done. There is no return to any state of existence. Our teachings are rooted in the Buddha. A mendicant must develop and cultivate one faculty so that they can declare enlightenment. What one? The faculty of wisdom. When a noble disciple has wisdom, the faith, energy, mindfulness, and immersion that follow along with that become stabilized. This is the one faculty that a mendicant must develop and cultivate so that they can declare enlightenment. I understand. Rebirth is ended. The spiritual journey has been completed. What had to be done has been done. There is no return to any state of existence.
Now, this is another somewhat provocative statement. You might go, wait a minute. I thought that all the faculties, I have just been trained that all the faculties are supposed to be in balance with another, and you can't just neglect one. Why is he saying this? What do you think? Does anyone have an idea about that? And then some sutras say that it culminates in wisdom, the peak, the highest of the faculties is the faculty of wisdom. So why is he saying this? Yes, Dakota.
Well, it seems like the other faculties are, when you arrive at wisdom, that's through the practice of the other faculties.
So they must cultivate one faculty. But I don't think it means an exclusion to the others.
No,
I think Westerners, including myself, might look at this and go, what does he mean? Why does he say one? But they must develop and cultivate one faculty so they can declare enlightenment. So the other ones, you're saying the other ones are supporting this. Is that what you're saying, Dakota?
that's what it seems to me, that wisdom is a result of faith, energy, mindfulness, and immersion.
Yeah, I still think they all work together, but this one has to be, you can't neglect this one. And Ruwanti has a hand up.
Yes, Ayya. So I think somewhat before the end, it says here, when the noble disciple has wisdom, the faith, energy, mindfulness, and immersion that follow along with that becomes stabilized. So that kind of indicates that all five needs to be developed. I mean, not only wisdom itself.
Mhm.
It's in there, I think.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, that the wisdom is stabilizing all the others. They all have to be developed, but that wisdom faculty is so essential to the actual realization of awakening. And Linda has her hand up.
Hi, yeah. As far as I know, like the wisdom samadhi is the last one you do. Like you work your way up to the wisdom samadhi. I'm not sure how it is in Theravada Buddhism. I'm thinking of Indian yogic tradition and the Mahayana self-power schools. Like it's like that's the last one you do. You're sitting in meditation, you're doing walking meditation, and you're going through all these other stages. And the last one is the wisdom samadhi. And when you achieve that, you've achieved nirvana. You know, if you've, and everything else is in balance because you've already gone through all the other stages. So that's anyway, that's reaching back into the more ancient traditions too. So when I read that, I thought, well, that makes sense, because that's once you achieve that, I don't know if you can declare enlightenment though. You're definitely in nirvana stage. You're in an awakened stage, but I'm not sure if you're quite enlightened or not yet. You might be on the way to being enlightened. So
I'm not familiar with that tradition, but certainly wisdom is a pinnacle. And let's see, let's let Maitri have a turn since hasn't spoken yet.
Thank you, Ayya.
You could get
I wanted to mention that, so the 5 faculties, I think they work, they feed on each other. And so Saddha, Sila, Sati, all of these, when the faith helps you develop wisdom, makes you practice more. So they kind of feed on each other, but for the complete development of wisdom, so they all have to be completely and fully developed. And here I believe that there's when it says that the wisdom faculty must be developed, it's that full complete development of it. They all work together is kind of my understanding.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, they nourish one another, they balance one another, they work together as a unit. Yeah, but there's the 2 balancing of the saddha and the panya and the virya and the samadhi and now he's saying that the panya, the wisdom, has stabilized all the other ones. So that's essential one to have well developed. Is that how I'm seeing it? And Dakota has had her hand up for a little bit.
Thank you. This is sort of what everyone else has been saying as well, and it really ties into the last sutta that we were looking at also, is that each of these faculties we need to understand it through personal experience, through the wisdom of our own experience. And it's through that filter that it becomes really valuable to us. So that's Bhavanamaya Panya, is the wisdom of personal experience.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So there's, let's see, Ruwanti.
Yes, Ayya. So I was remembering this, like in one of the topics one time we were talking about Khanti, patience. So in that discussion, I remember they were saying like, it's just not just patience itself, but it needs to be accompanied by wisdom. So I think every one of these faculties needs to be accompanied with wisdom, and wisdom is something not like it just pop up right at the end, but it is something that we develop along the path. I just wanted to add that comment. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then that it's stabilizing, like it's, I think what you're saying, it's essential. Like with Khanti, you're not just going to kind of, passively be patient to anything. You have to have a little bit of wisdom of what you're willing to have to endure and to pursue for a long period of time. So the wisdom faculty accompanying all the other faculties. It's informing each one. Each one needs to be informed. I mean, you can have sati of a thief or a cat or something like that. The mindfulness, each step the cat is stalking the bird, but is it really wise? Is that so the wisdom going along with each one, stabilizing it, and informing it. And I think there are each one, like Maitri was talking about them. I think he said, I'm saying nourishing. He said some other word, feeding, I think he said, but nourishing. And I had just talked about this one sutta in the numerical discourses, the Anguttara Nikaya, and it was talking about now let's see if I can get it right now, just from my memory, because I don't have my cheat sheet with me. but for liberation, knowledge and liberation, that's what it was, to overcome ignorance. There's a 10 kind of phases, and but they're actually all continuously nourishing one another. And the first one was associating with good friends, and the second one was listening to the Dhamma. So you're developing wisdom, and out of that wisdom, sada arises, and that takes up the whole path, takes off from there. So there's that wisdom and sada together at that point. So I just thought I'd point that out, that the practice is supported by these two. And then, of course, the mindfulness and the samadhi and the virya are all essential. So, see, we've got just a few minutes left. Does anyone here have anything they would like to add? Or anyone else have a brief question or comment? Oh, Ruanti?
Yes, Ayya. Also, it just came to my mind when we going back to the word sada. When we say faith or confidence, it is not about the Buddha, the person. It's about the faith on his enlightenment. So, so until you have experienced it for yourself, I think having that faith is essential for you to walk the path.
Yes, yes. The Lord Buddha was a human being as ourselves, and he lived a very worldly life when he was growing up, and then he lived a very ascetic life. And we don't necessarily have to lead that kind of strict ascetic life. He's telling us about the middle way, but he's another human being as ourselves, and we have that capacity. Somebody, I'm just repeating what Ajahn Pasano, I heard him say, is that having faith in the Lord Buddha is having faith in ourselves, our capacity. So it's just what you're saying, Ruanti, that we start out by considering, oh, this is this other human being has done this, and is it? Oh, well, we admire and we think about the qualities that the Buddha had, and we can emulate some of them to a certain extent. but yeah, it is not just like that he's a god or he's, like we have to worship him, that kind of faith. I think that's what you're trying to indicate, that it's the fact that he woke up and he's pointing the way. So we're having our confidence in that.
Right.
So thank you. That's a beautiful way to end. And we have images of the Buddha, and they all look different depending on which culture they come from. They may look Thai or Cambodian or Chinese or Western or Sinhala in appearance. Whatever we imagine this being, this human being, how they might have appeared. It's within each culture they've created it in their own image. if you notice. So we have an image here, and then we can. I'm getting this look. I'm being reminded. I think I'm getting psychic messaged. Yeah, that's what I thought. We know of a bhikkhu, a monastic, who may be passing today. He may have already passed away. And his name is Venerable Cheto Vimutti. So we've dedicated our practice for today to his perhaps realizing the deathless. But we just think of him and his family also, who are going to miss him. And so I'm just mentioning his name. And we can all just dedicate whatever, merit, if we care to, whatever merit to his passing to the best possible, from all the merit of his life as a bhikkhu and all the people that are dear to him, is a best possible outcome for him in his passing away. So we're going to now pay respects to the Lord Buddha. So if you have an image in your dwelling, you can turn towards that, or this image we have here is small. It looks small on the screen. It's actually pretty good sized. Araham Sama Sambuddho Bhagava Buddham Bhagavantam Abhivadi Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namasami. Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sangham Dhamma. Thank you all for joining us, and have a wonderful rest of the day.